Um, let's go over these finishing touches, right? Edge fillets, pretty straightforward. You could, it doesn't like that I'm not propagating that line all the way around. I'll do something a bit more simpler. Clear selection. This edge is probably better. Not a great example. I'll make it slightly better. I didn't realize it would look that small. Yeah, so that's one thing you could do. Maybe it doesn't like that it's so big. Yeah, didn't like that. It went up to 5 millimeters, brought it down. You'll just have to play around with that. Um, chamfer, very similar. If I want to, let's say, chamfer this top edge, let's say 5, okay. Then it chamfers it. You can specify if you want to sort of, I guess, less standard angles. You could specify that in the dialog box that pops up when you select it. You could also do a draft. Let's say I wanted to draft these stiffeners. First of all, let's make these stiffeners a bit more thicker before I draft them so it's a bit more apparent. I'll go overkill here, why not? Say I want to draft this face. Let's say this is some kind of molded part. Pulling direction, let's say it's normal to that face. Neutral element to be this bottom face. Let's do a preview. It's not drafting in the direction that I want it to, so I could actually just inverse the direction, hit preview again. It's a little too much. Let's lessen that to 3 degrees. Preview. Yeah, that looks like what I want. So you can see that it's sort of a sloped in and upward. I also want to note that for your fillets, there are variable fillets. So that, for example, if I go back to my geometrical thing, and let's see if I can work with this edge. Let's say I create a point there, create a point here, create a point in the middle somewhere on curve, create another point somewhere on the curve. Okay, and then I want to go back to my part body and do a variable fillet. Objects fillet, this guy. Let's do 2, right? I accidentally exited out. And then you could specify which control points you want. So I'm going to add that as my control points. And these control points are points at which you can specify your different radii. And then you could also specify how you want the radius change to be to transition. So if I made it linear and I click preview, then it's a sort of like a straight line with some tangencies as the transition point. If I want that to be a bit more smooth, I can go back and make it cubic, preview, right? I could also make it minimal, linear, preview. So that's one fun thing to play with. I can also do a tri-tangent fillet. It's actually not in the Essentials tab. And if you can't find it, you could always go to your search bar and look up tri-tangent fillet. And if you hit this target button, then it'll show you exactly where it is. So you saw that I was on my Essentials. I went to my standard to look it up, and it showed me that it was in. What did it show me? I literally just forgot. Okay, it's showing me that it's in the refined toolbar, tri-tangent. So I can go to another stiffener. Let's say I wanted to keep these faces. So those two faces that I just selected are my reference faces, and the face that I want to remove, once I select that, or maybe not. Okay, it actually does work here. Then it'll basically replace the face that I want to remove with a surface that is tangent to the first two faces that I selected. Uh, okay, structure, body, and set. I'll just go over these sort of quickly. Body, you could create another body within your 3D body, right? If I make that and then create a body, then it'll create a body sort of outside of all of these. I went over the Boolean features, but just to quickly review, I could add this body, right? I could create a sketch here on this plane, make a profile, whatever. Exit, pad that up. Okay, you can see that it's not combined right now. It's sort of just phasing into each other. But if I add this to the other one, then you can see that it has these edges that indicate that it's combined, and it recognizes the edges that are there at the intersection of the two parts. Body and set is basically, I named the body while I create it, right? Pop up to name the body, same thing. Geometrical set is your folders for your 2D features. You can play around with the views. These aren't really specific to your part design modules, so I won't go over that too much. Some things. Okay, so drafted and filleted pad. I think these are very straightforward. If you want to do a pad and you know it has to have a draft and fillets, then here's like a one-step thing to do is in place of what I showed you, right? I already showed you the draft, I showed you the pad, I showed you the fillet. This is just combines it into one step. Sorry. Same thing for a pocket. Multi-pad is if you want to um, do different closed contours and pad them up to different thicknesses, right? Same thing, but negative for multi-pocket. I already showed you hole. Multi-hole is pretty intuitive. I showed you rib, right? Slot would be the inverse of that. I think I might have showed you. Um, let's see this. I think this will be interesting. I'm going to delete everything here for now. Bye-bye. Yeah, delete all children, add credit elements. Yep. Let's create some. Whoops. Let's create some plane offsets. 150. Okay. And then offset from here. 150. Good. And then if I do sketch here, I'll do a circle, exit, and then I'll do a sketch here and do a square or a rectangle. And then I exit, then I go to one of my modeling tools. If I do a solid combine, sketch 23, it already selected it. Okay, it already did it for me. Then it will create a solid that is the result of the projections of the sketches, with the projection directions being by default normal to the base plane of the sketch. And if you wanted to not do that direction, then you could also create your own lines and axes and specify the projection directions. Okay. All right, let's go back into. We could do a multi-section solid. Let me delete this, set that up for you.